Welcome to the Wired to Hunt podcast. This week on the show, we're doing a little fireside chat of sorts with myself and Janis Putelis, reviewing our year in the outdoors, the highs and the lows and the lessons learned, and looking forward to 2026. All right, welcome back to the Wired to Hunt podcast, and Merry Christmas. You are listening to this on the day it airs. I guess I don't know what to say. It's Christmas Day. I hope you're spending most of the day with your friends and family, but if you're spending a little bit of time here with me, I certainly appreciate it. Today, we're going to be sitting down, me and Janis here in a minute, to reflect on 2025, to look back on our year and all of our experiences outdoors, the adventures, the hunts, the fishing trips, the other exploits of so many different types, and really talk about what we did, why it was special, why it sticks with us, maybe a little bit of how our criteria has changed over the years as far as what's important to us and what's not. And then we spend some time looking forward into the new year and talking through some of our plans and adventures and hopes for 2026. And I share all of this, and I'm sharing all of this whole conversation with you today because I hope that it can be a little bit of a thought trigger for you, something that helps you do something like this yourself. I found that taking a little bit of time, especially at this time of year, to look back on the last 12 months is so helpful. It's so rejuvenating and satisfying to just take a moment to appreciate what we just experienced. It's so much of life is go, 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 go. At least I'm guilty of rarely taking time to enjoy the present, of rarely taking time to enjoy, all of the weeks and months and incredible experiences and fun moments and laughs and trials and tribulations even too, all on the way. So what I try to make time for during this Christmas break of sorts is some of that quiet, some of that maybe just on your own or maybe with your spouse or a friend or a buddy or whatever it might be. Just talk about some of the stuff or think about some of the stuff or write it down and talk through what were the things that really went well? What were some of the things that didn't go so well? How do I wish I could have changed things? Or maybe, what do I want to do different this coming year? That is a useful and like I said, it can be a really therapeutic exercise sometimes too. So that's what me and Yanni did today. I kind of have framed it in my mind like a fireside chat. Like I've imagined wishing that me and Janis were hanging out at my house, sitting by the fire, drinking a coffee or a cold beer or something and reminiscing. And so what we're going to do is actually using the magic of post-production, we're going to add the sound of a crackling fire, which let's cue that fireplace right now. That sounds pretty nice. So from here on out, we're going to chat with that soothing sound of the cracking and popping fireplace. And I hope you enjoy this relaxed conversation with myself and my good pal, Janis Putelis, as we reflect on this past year in the outdoors, as we look forward, and as we hopefully can be a part of a really nice Christmas day or Christmas break with you and yours. I'm wishing you well. I appreciate you being a part of this community, and here's to a very happy holiday. Enjoy the chat. All right, Yanni, I want you to imagine that you and I are sitting in a nice, cozy living room or, I don't know, den, family room area of sorts with a fireplace, all right? And imagine it's Christmas season, could be Christmas Day or around that, and you and I have just gotten to sit down. We've got a cup of coffee or tea or eggnog or whatever, and finally have some quiet time to catch up and look back on the year that we just had. That is the stage that I'm setting for our conversation today. And even right now, you can't hear it, Yanni, but there is actually a crackling fireplace playing in the background right now. Our listeners can hear the beautiful fire popping and crackling as we chat.
Are you wearing an elf outfit?
I should be wearing an elf outfit. My kids are wearing literal Santa-themed clothing right now. Today was their last day of school, when we were recording this. So there's a lot of Christmassy stuff going on around me. But I know you are too. You were dressed up just recently, weren't you?
I was actually in an elf outfit 2 evenings ago. It didn't. We're on the live tour right now when we're recording this, and 2 nights ago, I think we were in Birmingham, Alabama, and the joke just didn't really hit. No one even commented that there's like a grown man in an elf suit. Brent got the easy job of being Santa Claus, so it didn't take a lot of imagination. But for me, I had to really go into character there. And it didn't really hit. So Steve vetoed the outfits for last night. I think we're not going to dress up tonight. But I just like to, if we're in this room, I was joking about the elf outfit, but I'm imagining you might have like a white turtleneck with like a nice Christmas sweater on with your eggnog.
I follow what you're getting at here. Speaking of that, the white turtleneck makes me think of Christmas Vacation, the movie, right? I just went to a bar the other night that was completely themed on National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So everything was decked out in, 1990s Christmas decorations. All the TVs were playing the Christmas Vacation movie. There was Wally's World mugs that you could get with eggnog and other Christmas Vacation themed drinks. Highly recommend it. It was in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It was a great Christmas spot to hang out. So. Random aside, but we should go get a drink there someday when you're in Michigan next time in Christmas time.
Yeah, we were at a bar actually with the Southern Outdoorsman boys when we were in Birmingham after the show, and they were playing a Scrooge or a what's the actual story? A Christmas Story, I guess. Which it must have been a funny version. There was no volume, but I was kind of like, man, there's so many other better, funnier Christmas movies that people know. The lines, and it would be better. It just didn't seem fitting for a bar atmosphere. But
how are you guys feeling about the live tour otherwise?
It's going well, man. The crowds have been super energetic. Everybody is telling some great stories. Like I was telling you before we started, bus life, it takes a few, hopefully not more than a few nights, but the sleep on the bus, it's not sleeping at home, right? And so even though you're sleeping through the night, it's kind of like sleeping in a tent where you sleep all night, but at the same time, you're sort of aware of the night passing. And so obviously you're not in that just deep, deep sleep that really gets you just refreshed the next day. So, there's a little bit of weight in the eyelids, but otherwise, it's great. It's getting to meet the VIPs that come through. So before the main show, we have 75 VIPs that come through, and we basically just do a meet and greet, shake some hands, take pictures, sign some stuff, and just getting that feedback loop from them. What they're liking, how we've affected whatever they're doing, and just getting to chat with them. It feels good, and it gives value to what we do. So,
yeah, I've always felt like those types of events can be really exhausting, right? Shaking hands and saying hi to 100 people or 1,000 people or whatever it ends up being. But it is also like very energizing because, to your point, it's good to just see the people that are listening and watching our stuff and hear how, like you said, hear what they think and how it's impacting them, and that is nice. So you've got an event tonight or tomorrow, or when's the next one?
Every night. We're in Memphis, Tennessee tonight. Then we are in Fayetteville, Arkansas, then Dallas, and we finish in Austin, and then we fly home on the 23rd. Hopefully with smooth skies and, no crazy Christmas travelers, no crazy weather.
That's a grind. That is whoever put that schedule together right before Christmas is a little bit cruel, but I'm glad you're doing it, not me.
Listen, I make sure Yanni gets plenty of time to hunt. So when we're done with this, we're going to enjoy the holidays. And then Mingus and I are going to go on a roll and just be pounding the mountains around Bozeman, trying to catch some cats.
That'll be good. So that's a perfect segue to the main thing I want to talk about, which is looking back on our outside years. So I don't know if this is something that you can relate to at all, but sometimes all I do is look forward. It's always the next trip you've got to get ready for, or the next project you're working on, or the next thing you've got to do at home. And you never end up actually looking back and really like appreciating and thinking about all the cool stuff that happened. And at this time of year especially, I try to make space to do that, but the only way it happens is if I like actually set aside time to, I don't know, take Kylie out to dinner or something and tell her like, hey, let's just reminisce. Let's talk about the year. What were your favorite things? What'd you think? What went well? What didn't? So I kind of was curious about your take on that. Like when you look back on the year, when you think back on 2025, in the context of like your outdoor related activities, hunting and fishing and all the other things you're doing out there, did it live up to your expectations?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had a great year.
How, like what, when I ask you that question and you think that through, like, why do you say, oh yeah, why was that such a fast answer?
We had big plans. I had big plans kind of both personally. And they actually were the personal hunting plans that I'll tell you about. They came about sort of in just like a happenstance manner, kind of rushed. Like I wasn't really planning them, and then sort of they just came together. And what I'm talking about is my trip to Manitoba for a spring bear hunt, which was very last minute. And the outfitter just was able to secure another tag and get me in there late. And is a great guy, Craig McCarthy, and his wife, Melanie, and North Mountain Adventures. And through that, he at that time was looking to expand his operation to northern Manitoba for some caribou hunting. And he hadn't been up there yet. And he sort of was like thinking about an exploratory trip for the fall. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, sign me up, like we can maybe make this work. And so like the more I do this stuff, as much as I love my whitetail deer hunting and I love turkey hunting and I love my elk hunting, like I feel like I need some level of like legit adventure. Like that's what really fuels me. And it's like I love everything else, I really do. But the adventure, the unknown part of the adventure, I think unknown is synonymous with adventure, because I feel like if you know what's going to happen, it's hard to really have a good adventure. But when you have a thing you're going to go do where there's a lot of unknowns, you don't know how it's going to happen, you're guaranteed a good adventure. And I feel like the bear hunt, it kind of went as expected, not too adventuresome, but to then come back to Manitoba, where I didn't even know they had caribou until I was up there in May. And then come September, we fly up there and take 4 or 5 planes to get to northern Manitoba, and had a very Alaskan adventure in Manitoba. Landed on a lake with tons of lake trout, tons of pike. I mean, probably some of the best lake trout and pike fishing I've ever experienced. Like every time you pull it on a glassy evening, every time you pulled into a new cove, like the first 6 casts were guaranteed to have a topwater bite from a pike. I mean, just, it's pretty special,
That's fun.
And then we as a family decided this was going to be the year that we were going to go take the Ranellas up on their invitation to their fish shack in Alaska. And so we joined the Ranella family, the Henderson family. Andy Radulowski was there. Who am I missing? Seth and his wife, Kelsey, they have a cabin up there too now. They were there. I feel like Jeremy Romero was in our group. Anyways, we did that, and that might have not been such a huge adventure for me, But for me to get to be able to share that place and those activities with my family was awesome. Super stoked to get them there, see how they dealt with the conditions. Even on the best day, Alaska is like not that nice, right? Like it's always kind of wet, kind of rainy, kind of cold, but we had a great time. They thrived. That water's like 55 degrees or something, maybe come pushing 60. They swam every single day in that water.
Wow.
Like, yeah, they're like little otters. If there's water around, they're getting in there. So that's how I can answer that so quickly, is that just like right off the top of the head, I can just like, come up with like, couple 3 trips that were big time fun and adventures, stuff I hadn't done. And if I had done it, like I got to, like I said, with the fishing trip, I got to share that with my family. And Stephen Ranella, everybody. Mark Canyon. We're doing a Wired to Hunt podcast.
I'm trying to figure out what to lay out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's 3 of these rooms. You're welcome to shower in there if you want. He must have been napping.
Getting situated for the day. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he's got a good plan. He stays on the bus. Everybody else comes into the venue and starts sort of occupying the green room and all these, rooms in the basement of a venue. And then Steve ends up having the whole bus to himself. It's quiet, it's comfortable, and he stays in there and works. So it's a good plan.
Smart. So what do the girls, other than loving to swim, what do the girls think about their first Alaska? That was their first Alaska experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know my oldest was there when she was 1 year old. Okay. But yes, that was their first real Alaska experience. Man, I wish they were here to answer that question. They had a great time. I think a lot of times for kids, it's like they were there with their friends, right? And so that can kind of make it or break it, right? Like who you're with, what they're doing. Because they're not necessarily remembering how great the fishing was, or we did a lot of fishing. How great, the one hike that we did was, how great the whale watching was. Like they remember that interstitial stuff when they're just running around on the beach with their friends, finding crazy stuff in the rocks or going swimming or whatever. And it's a good group of kids, and they have a great time. So, they never got down. Like they thrived in that environment, which was great to see. Like it wasn't hard for my kids to go, oh, we just got to sleep on pads and like on a wood floor in a damp cabin, and our clothes are going to be damp for a week, and we're going to be sort of like in a space with a small space with a lot of other people. Showers are kind of limited. Like you can get a shower in, but it's really like every third day kind of a thing. But they thrived, and Ina, my oldest, was actually awarded the coveted Cock of the Cove award, which is basically given to the person that is just constantly, Steve gives us out this award. But it's given to the person that when Steve at like 9 p.m. is like, hey, there's a little bit of daylight left. Let's go dig some holes and bury some rocks to anchor down this new part of the dock. And everybody else is like, oh my God, I'm just tired. I just want to drink another beer and go to sleep. And Ina's like, I'll go. And then, Steve's like, well, then after that, we got to go shrimping. And Ina's like, I'll go. And then anytime there was, we basically, all the kids had to do the dishes. And there was 15 people there. So there's a fair amount of dishwashing to do. And Ina stepped up, washed a lot of dishes, and just really was a helping hand. And like I said, they thrived, and just had a great time. So other than I don't know if I can give you any more details. We would have to ask them, like now that it's been 6 months, ask them what they thought about that trip.
Yeah. Are your criteria different these days when you think about, what makes a trip great or a year great? You know, I don't know. What would your answer have been different if I'd asked you this 10 years ago or 15 years ago?
I'm sure it would have been. I'm sure that my criteria are different. I feel that like now I'm able to just articulate it, or I just know, what's going to make a good trip for me. And I know what I like to do, which is pretty much hang out outside. It's not like it's that complicated, right? And I like to have that adventure sprinkled in, but I also love my, 15 days hanging out in a tree saddle in Wisconsin and just sort of meditating for that period of time, right? And again, we're extremely lucky that it's not like we get one of these adventures a year, right? Like I got to go hunting mountain mule deer on a backpacking hunt. I got to go elk hunting for, I don't know. I didn't hunt that many days because I killed a bull early on in the season. But, I think more and more, like I know it's planning 2026. Like I'm very much taking the approach of like asking my girls, like, okay, what hunts do you guys want to do? What hunts are we definitely going to do? And then making sure there's time set aside for that. And then I'll plan everything else around it. As much as they want to hunt and do stuff, I'll make it happen. They're probably good for like 3 to 4 hunts a year, right? We have like a big turkey camp in the spring. They love that. And then in the fall, we have the Montana youth hunt. There's the Wisconsin deer camp. And then something else kind of sprinkled in there. My girls are not like some of my peers' kids that are just ready to go shoot stuff every day of the week, no matter the season. So yeah, as long as I have them taken care of and like we're doing stuff together. I was telling we did a little short interview after the show last night, and she asked me about, I can't remember how it came up, but anyways, it got me to think about how without this hunting and fishing thing with my kids, since I have 2 girls, I would spend like a huge percentage less time with them, especially less quality time with them than I do. Like if they were not into it, and it's something that I'm always worried about, is like my girls at any moment could just be like, it's been fun, but like I'm going a different direction, right? And there's a higher likelihood, I feel like, with 2 girls doing that than 2 boys. So yeah, I'm very grateful that we do have those 3 or 4 trips every year where we're spending that quality time. And even though we're like doing things I like to do, it's still that quality time that you get from being outdoors because, you don't have the phones and the screens and just the craziness of life around. And, there's just time to talk and hang out and get to know each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like if I didn't have hunting and fishing with my dad, I don't know what our relationship would be like. That's the main core thing we have in common, that we can have shared time together, and something to just like a core thing in common is so important. Yeah, it's huge. And I do feel like for me now, my criteria has definitely been shifting, right? I mean, for a lot of years, it was just how do I kill the most big bucks? And now it's definitely shifting more to I'm feeling that adventure bug again. I feel like that need for something bigger and new and wild and outside of the ordinary and different. But then on the other hand, I also have the desire to prioritizing kind of 2 things on either side of the spectrum. One is like the unique adventure, something different outside the element, my usual element. And then number 2 is the core foundational family stuff, like more time with family and friends on those types of things. Taking advantage of as much time as I can with my dad at our family deer camp or my kids, and that kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm trending towards, what you described, which is first figure out how do we block in those family trips make sure those have got a spot on the calendar, and then budget in the other stuff on the gaps, I guess. Because I don't think when I'm on my deathbed someday I'm going to sit back and wonder, well, did I kill 54 big bucks or 51 or 28 or whatever? It's going to be, well, the memories with the people you care about, or some like really unique, special, outside of the norm experiences. So trying to start prioritizing a little bit of that personally, which it started pretty well this year. Not just this year, but had some of those experiences this year, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you do a great job of
I would say
spending time with your kids.
Well, I'm lucky in that they are, like your daughters are, they're into it. They love it. They want to be out there. Like we went to the Keys, the Florida Keys this spring. So this is like one of my main highlights. We did a family trip to the Keys, and we had a little rental place on the water. So we had a dock that went out, 50 feet or 100 feet or something. And so every day, my oldest, Everett, he would just want to go out there to the end of the dock and just fish the whole day. And then my youngest, Colt, who's not as into it as Everett, but some, he'd kind of come back and forth. He'd go play in the pool for a while, and then he'd go out to the dock and fish for a while. Then he'd go play in the pool for a while, and then back to the dock. But they just want to be outside the whole time. They want to be looking for fish, looking for crabs, catching barracudas and grunts and snappers. And there was even tarpon out there, so I caught a tarpon off the dock with the kids and everyone. So getting to see all that, share all that with them was really cool. So many of my favorite stories from this past year are with them. We did our first 4-night backpacking trip with the whole crew this summer. That was awesome. Did their highest elevation 3-day backpacking up in the Sawtooths. That was really awesome. And then a lot of hunts. So I don't know if I told you, I probably did, but Everett killed his first turkey this spring. So yeah, that stuff really stands out. But then also, I went and got to do that trip with Cal to the Arctic Refuge, which was like one of those big adventures way outside of the norm. So that one stands out too. It's just unbelievable just to see somewhere like that finally. So I'm finding it's like a barbell is kind of how I'm seeing my world now. I want some on that far side of the spectrum and some on the far other side at this phase in life, for whatever that's worth. Do you feel like any of this has shifted your whitetail kind of growing? I don't know if it's growing love or if it's returning to that love. I mean, the last like 5 years or so, you've been on this expanding whitetail kick. How does all this fit into to where you are there on that?
Well, it was fun. It was good. I say that now that I'm removed by a month, but very humbling whitetail season. Spent counting the days with my daughter in a tree, rifle hunting. I think 15 days, and certainly I'd say out of 15, probably at least 10, maybe 11 days were dawn to dusk. Or maybe I switched trees, so I was out of the tree for an hour midday, but like put in some mega hours and came up empty-handed. And I think I sort of had in my mind like, just like persistence can be enough. If I just like go in and just pound, like I'm in a good enough spot. Like I can sit on the funnels. It's the rut. Like something's gonna walk by me. They did. And so it sort of like reset me, and it's kind of reset my. I don't know. It's in the end, it's great because I love a challenge, and I'm still, even though I've been doing it my whole life, I still am, at the more of a beginner stage as a whitetail hunter, and that is great because it makes it fun. Like I'm learning, and I'm sure at one point, I think I've told you this before too. Like I always feel like once I feel comfortable enough to like take someone else out and be like, yeah, come with me and I'll show you how to do this, and we can probably get something done and sort of guide somebody. Like I can do that with elk. I can do that with turkeys. Whitetail deer, I did tell a couple of guys where to sit this year in our camp for rifle season, and they did kill, two of the nice bucks that we killed. So like that was validation. These are two spots that I've sort of pioneered on the property, sort of figured out. We've sort of made them into permanent spots. One has has a ladder stand. One just has a kind of a natural log / brush blind, and they both produced, right? So that was super cool. Yeah, I mean, I did come away from it, even though, I mean, I did get to spend, I don't know, I think my daughter hunted with me out of a tree 3-4 days. I did come away with it kind of thinking like, man, 15 days, and, are all those days worth it to not be doing something else, not be, hanging with my kids or whatever. And again, I'm lucky that I'm doing it for work, but I did come away with those thoughts. But I don't know, like, like I said, I'm still new to it. I'm having such a good time now, especially owning a little bit of land, doing all the, property management, to see that already kind of come into fruition. I mean, we had some bucks hanging there this past summer. They hung out there really through hunting season. I mean, like they all do, they sort of disappeared here and there for a week or two, but now the hunting season's over. 2 of them have come back and are like, regularly on camera. And honestly, we haven't, like, the fruits of the labor are like maybe 10% of what's gonna be there. And so that's great to see and gets me super excited for the future, knowing like what we're planning and hopefully what's gonna happen.
Did you feel like you were able to get the sense that, oh yeah, like stuff made a difference this year? Or is it more so? Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, like where we thinned, I mean, for those of you that didn't listen to me talk about our property in Wisconsin, I mean, it's a 40-acre square. The northern half is mostly a oak-dominated habitat. And it was like the classic, closed canopy. Southern half was white pine dominated. It had been cut about 35 years ago, and it had never been thinned, so it was just this kind of scraggly, thick. I mean, like the deer moved through it, but they never really hung out. Like it was kind of a desert. And we basically took out every single pine out of the southern 20 and left what was remaining of these, like, they're only 8 inches. Like there's 2 big oaks in there that might be a foot at breast height. But just doing that, cutting that, and then letting sunlight hit the ground, and then what came up, that has really made this like thick, a lot of cover, a lot of blowdowns. Like there's just a ton of food in there. There's a ton of bedding cover. So the deer are definitely spending time there. The northern half, because we're doing this 3-year project with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, sort of creating an oak savanna. So we cut 90% of the trees, but left some really nice big oaks. And it's going to be left that way now. And the oaks are spread out basically far enough to where if one falls, it's not going to hit another oak. That kind of paints a picture of how, spotty these oak trees are. You can definitely see across it now. Now because we've been spraying herbicide, there was like nothing growing. So the deer aren't using it. Like, again, they're passing through, but they're not using it. But in 3 years, when there's 4 to 6 foot tall grasses and forbs all through there, I mean, it's just going to be great habitat for all kinds of stuff, right? I would say this year, we saw great results in kind of 20 acres of it, but there's another 20 acres that really the deer were just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And that's going to change, and it's going to be sweet.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I feel like that has been my favorite part of my habitat work in the past, has just been seeing the cause and effect stuff. It's like doing a thing, and then that first time you see something that is really truly because of the work you did, that is super rewarding. Something you said a second ago made me really curious about your perspective on a debate that sometimes happens that you uniquely could give an answer to, which is whitetails versus mule deer. Mule deer hunters, I feel like your typical mountain guy might sometimes want to put their, turn their nose up on whitetails and say, oh, whitetails are easy. Nothing compared to hunting mule deer. What's your take? Which is more challenging, mule deer hunting or whitetail hunting? Or how would you compare and contrast the two, given the fact you've done both pretty seriously now?
It's apples and oranges. Sure, they're both deer, but like, man, and I'm sure there's some places, maybe eastern Colorado, western Kansas, where they're kind of doing the same thing, right? Because they're both there. But like where I hunt mule deer in the mountains, and then compared to where I hunt whitetail deer in the deciduous forest of central Wisconsin, they're just so different, and the habitat's so different. The tactics are so different. And I would say that right now, it's way harder for me to kill a mature buck in Wisconsin, but I think that's more because the lack of experience. I know plenty of people. We both know plenty of people that are very successful year after year with mature whitetail bucks, and I went on a 5 or 6 day hunt this year in the mountains out west and killed a nice mule deer buck. I haven't scored him yet, but it's a buck that I think that, most people would have a real hard time passing up, right? But they're just so different. I mean, I feel like that mule deer hunt required just physical, stamina and just being in shape. We carried, heavy backpacks, couple 3,000 feet up a mountain, and we have to have the skills to be up there camping and surviving and living and then hunting at the same time. And it's great, but like I kind of know what to do, right? And it didn't happen at the first spot we went to. We adjusted. It was challenging. We were seeing too many people. Spent a bunch of time looking at Onyx. I had done some scouting in the summer, so I kind of had some plan Bs, but, went to a plan B and it happened, right? With the whitetails, man, I don't know. So much to talk about, Mark. Like I said earlier, like the just straight persistence. Like I know how to apply that persistence on a mule deer hunt of just like, okay, you're just going to have to get up to glassing points and just pound the glass. If you keep doing that, you're going to turn up a buck. And like, that's what we did. And I sort of thought I had that formula for whitetail deer hunting in the first half of November is like, where the funnels are, the pinch points, like you just put in the time and your 3-year-old or plus is going to eventually walk by. And I don't know what it is. I mean, is it just coincidence that there can be years where you just keep picking the wrong spot and like they go by the other pinch point 100 yards the other direction or whatever?
Yeah.
It happens, I mean, you've interviewed guys that, the seat equity guy, right? Who's just like kills big bucks up north, but he sits there for days on end. I can't remember his name right now, but days on end without seeing deer.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do, extremely hard to do. But he knows, right? That's the formula. That's his tactic. He knows that eventually, the mature buck walks through there. So I don't know. I sit squarely on the fence on this one. I think there are lots of Western hunters that there's no way they could, let alone do a full day, 10, 11 hours sit in one tree. They could do it for 4 hours until they're just like, I got to go. I got to move, like having that patience and that mental discipline to sit there and just put your time in is, it sounds easy when you just say it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. Like 2 days, 3 days into it, all of a sudden the grind sets in, Yeah,
it is a underappreciated challenge by those who've never done it. That's for sure. So was your big takeaway from your whitetail season the thing you led with, which was that persistence isn't always enough. Is that the big takeaway this year, or did something else, like as you look back yet, was there something else that you'll carry forward more than anything else?
Man, I mean, honestly, I'm still digesting it, because it really was humbling to put in that much effort and not be able to come away with even just a better encounter of I had him at 30 and he just went behind the wrong tree, or he heard me drawing my bow or something, but I didn't even get that close. Yeah, I don't know. And again, it's the rut, right? There's nothing guaranteed of the movement, and stuff's erratic. And so it's got me thinking about maybe I need to try a different approach as opposed, because the last 5 years it's just been I'm going to show up sometime between November 1 and November 7, and I'm going to stay for a week. And that's my program. And maybe it's time to, sort of get out of my comfort zone of that. Instead of relying on the rut, I rely more on some scouting and patterning them, and come and hunt in September or early October.
Yeah.
And, try to find some feed locate or whatever it might be. But, so yeah, I don't know. I think, the other takeaway is, Yanni, you're not as good of a whitetail deer hunter as you thought you were. And you got to put more effort in and understand these deer better and figure it out.
I think something you said a minute or two ago, though, is something that you should keep close to your heart in the coming 8, 9, 10 months to your next whitetail hunt, which is that sometimes you really truly can do everything right, and it still just doesn't happen because of the randomness of these critters, and the fact that if you're bouncing around, they could always be at the other spot. So sometimes it's just not in the cards, no matter how much time you put in. So don't beat yourself up too much. Now, what about this? What was more mentally taxing? Your 15 days of close to all-day sits in a tree stand in Wisconsin, or running your 100-mile race?
Oh, man. I mean, 15 days obviously a lot longer than the 33 hours it took me to run 100 miles. I think it was at times more intense running the 100 miles, where you get to points where you just sort of, your brain's having a hard time wrapping around why it can't make your legs actually run anymore. But even then, it's I feel like it's easier because you're moving. There's a thing you can do to have an immediate impact on the outcome, which is put one foot in front of the other. And on a whitetail deer hunt, you don't have that. At least the way I hunt, right? There is that.
Yep.
There is this other version that you've interviewed people. I mean, I think that Zach from the Hunting Public is best known for is well, just go find the deer. Don't sit in a tree waiting for him to walk by you. Go find where that buck is and try to kill him that way. And maybe I need to take that approach. So I would, as hard as that 100-miler was, I think it's still, because I was legit burned out by the end of it. And I have a hard time saying no. Even when, so what we do now, it's a great tradition, is we have Wisconsin deer camp for the opener. And on Tuesday, we kind of have a changeover at camp where the deer hunting crew, the camp, leaves, and my brother, my daughter, my dad, we stay. And then my sister's family shows up, my family shows up, my brother's wife shows up, my mom shows up, and then we do Thanksgiving there. And I basically get to continue to hunt. I'm not hunting as much, but I'm making at least a nice morning or a nice evening hunt every day. And I might have a kid with me, or my wife comes with me, or whatever. But I have a hard time having two. Well, yeah, two I say because I had a archery tag unfilled, but buck tag unfilled in my pocket and not going out. It gets very hard for me to do, even though it's you're 12 days in and the family's there. I'm like, well, I'm getting up tomorrow morning again at 5 and I'm going to go into the woods because I just have to. I have to go see. So what was the actual question? I feel like I rambled.
You were riffing on the challenge of all those days compared to, the 100-miler.
Yeah. So at the end of it all, like as Thanksgiving came and went, and I was still, getting out there, it was, I definitely got to a point where it was losing its luster big time. The grind had set in. I don't want to say I was grumpy, but I was definitely just kind of like, what can I do? I need to change something, But again, I'm like, well, I'm just going to be persistent and it'll happen, So it's a tough pill to swallow when, it gets dark on your last hunt, and you got to go home the next day. But it is what it is. It's not like you have a bad time. It's like you just got to, eat your piece of humble pie and then go, oh, right. But I still got to hang out in the woods for, 15 days in Wisconsin. It was beautiful. It was great.
You're training for your 100-mile race.
Yeah.
Days and days and days and days and days and days over the course of a year, probably. Even more than that, really. But for a long time leading up to the big race, you were training, doing a hard thing for a long period of time for days on end, right? You were consistently having to get up early and go do the thing you didn't maybe always want to do. Sometimes it was freezing cold. Sometimes it was raining. Sometimes you were just really tired or sore or whatever. But you trained yourself to be able to do that. Then you did the thing, the 100 miles, and you had to go through that kind of in a microcosm all over again. But instead it was over 33 hours nonstop, having to force yourself to take one more step, go up one more hill, etc. Did that mental grind over the months in any way help you handle the 15-day mental grind of whitetail hunting? Like, did you build a mental capacity through that physical challenge and training for that physical challenge that translated to your deer hunt? Or anything else?
I can't say that the two are really related. I'd say more than anything, my capacity now for these longer sits comes just from age. Like I'm just much more comfortable being happy. Because I think what is hard about sitting for 10 or 11 hours in one tree for especially people these days with as fast as stuff is happening, and sort of the media that we intake and just life in general, is that it's the slowness of it. And it's literal boredom. And we're not used to being bored. It's not actually, it's like a bad way to describe it, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's boredom. And like, I think now it's just easy for me to go, oh, but it's not. And you should appreciate the fact that you can enjoy this long chunk of time that goes by so slow. And like, I feel like I'm aging slower. Because when I'm at home with doing the kids and everything, it's just like 6 months just go by in clips and just fast and right. And you look and you're like, oh, my kid's oldest one is 14. That's insane. And then you go, oh, right. I aged 14 years too in that time that it's taken to get her, here. And so like, I really appreciate how slow time moves when you're sitting in a tree stand. Because I feel like there's, I don't know, I think the only other thing you could do is like legit meditate. Or I feel like when I'm doing a hard workout, like you're like, oh, it's only an hour. But like when you're in the grind of a hard workout of an hour, time seems to slow down too. Yeah, I just think that it's come with age that I appreciate stuff where it moves, where time's going slow.
So what do you think that means for next year? Do you see yourself doing, I guess you said possibly some different time periods. Do you envision more just in general time, like more whitetail time next year, less whitetail time next year?
I think it'll be similar. And a lot of that just comes with this geography, right? It just doesn't make sense. Not that I couldn't hunt deer in Montana, but I really like hunting deer again in the deciduous forest of the Midwest. But I like hunting everything else. And so to put more time to it, I just don't see that happening. Like, I'm just fine. It's obviously going to take me longer to get better, only hunting, 1 to 2 weeks of whitetails every season. If I lived in Wisconsin full time, that would be more of my like major thing. And the elk hunting would only be a week out of the year, right? But I live in elk country where we can go after work. We can go on the weekends on a short stint. But I do have for me, what's true out of state hunt planned. Brent Reeves and I are going to go hunt Kansas together. He's got a spot.
Nice.
And hopefully I have a bunch of points. Hopefully he'll draw too. And we are going to co-film each other. So Brent's going to film me. I'm going to film him. The cameramen will be characters in the episode. And I think we're going to have a great time. And I'm looking forward to it. I've spent some time with Brent. Wonderful human. I think we're going to laugh a lot. At some point, we're going to disagree about how we're going to hunt. And that's going to be fun too. So I'm looking forward to that. I've never hunted Kansas. It's right up there with Iowa and the other great whitetail states. I'm looking forward to, seeing some new country. That'll probably, just like hunting elk in different locations, or just like hunting anything other than what your like primary species is, like it makes you a better hunter in some way. It's not always apparent, right? But I think going to hunt Kansas will probably give me insight to how to hunt my place in Wisconsin better, and that'll be cool.
Yeah. That's so true.
But yeah, if I had to guess, it'll be roughly the same. I'm sure I'll do a week in Wisconsin bow hunting, and I'll probably be there for roughly a week for the rifle opener and Thanksgiving, and then I'll have this Kansas hunt with Brent. So, maybe it will be a few extra days, but pretty similar to this year. But yeah,
nice.
Definitely looking forward to it.
So you had a long couple weeks of whitetail hunting. You had an epic adventure in the Manitoba for caribou. You showed everybody up in the elk woods by killing a big bull in like 3 hours or whatever it was. You killed a mule deer in 5 days. You went to Alaska. You ran 100 miles. You went on, I don't know how many days of mountain lion hunts, but I'm sure you had a lot of fun doing all that. Like you said, amazing year. But do you have any regrets? Is there anything that you wish you had done in 25 that you didn't, or that you wish you did differently, or anything like that?
Yeah, I should have put more time into the construction of the apartment above my garage.
Is that your wife whispering that in your ear?
No, because the plan is to rent that thing, and you can't rent it until it's done, right?
True.
And so, yes, my sort of like absurd passion for hanging out in the woods gets in the way of construction projects for sure.
That'll do that.
I don't know if I have any true regrets. I try to be living without them, but there's always, if there's anything I'm working on these days, it's probably personal relationships. You and I have these conversations about having relationships with our dads, and obviously now we have it with our kids. But just trying to, do better at that, even do better, having the best relationship possible with my wife. And I'm not regretting, how the year went, but I think that always like looking forward to being like, oh, I could do that a little bit better, spend more time with them, be more open, whatever it is. Try to have more real conversations, with those people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think hunting and adventure wise, no real regrets. You don't seem like a guy that would have regrets, Mark.
I mean, like you said, I try not to. I feel like every year gets away from me, though. I always feel like you have these grand plans or even small plans, but important ones, and then they tend to slip by. I always struggle with something you mentioned there, which is like balance and personal relationships. Every year I think I'm going to do better, and maybe I do a little bit better, but I probably still miss the mark on those things sometimes. So it's like trying to balance these grand ambitions, these big plans, these adventures, satiating all that, and then balancing that with, the family stuff, the relationship stuff. I think I'm guilty sometimes of saying, oh, I'll do that someday. I want to do that someday. I want to take so-and-so on that trip someday. We're going to do that someday. But I don't want that someday to never get here. That's something that I probably need to just make happen sooner than later. Those types of things. But yeah, I guess I wouldn't say I have major regrets either. Just I am glad, this year I did not film as many things, which opened my calendar up for more family hunts, which were really important, like family time, which was really good. So I was glad I was able to do that. So that was it would have been a regret if I hadn't had that. I'm glad that I did get that. And then this coming year, I think I'm going to be filming more this coming year with like a bunch of new things. So I'm very excited about that because there's a bunch of adventure and new stuff coming down the line for me. But it's going to be how do you balance that? Will be my challenge this year. So
I do feel like the more effort I put into the home stuff and make sure that everybody's happy there and you got those good relationships at home, it's not only easier, but it just seems like the universe sort of makes sure it's like you're having a better time on your adventures away when you know that everybody at home is pretty stoked,
Yeah, very true. Well, being stoked is important, and I want to make sure that you are stoked tonight on your live show, Yanni. I want to make sure you've got the energy necessary to perform on stage. So I should let you get to the rest of your day. I do appreciate you taking some pre-live podcast time to do a virtual podcast and catching up with me on some of the stuff. So thank you.
You can't call it a live podcast anymore though, because we don't record them, we don't air them, so it's really just a live show.
Good point.
Yeah, and it was for everybody at home. It was when we used to do that. It was very difficult because every night you needed to have 100% new content, because if you're just listening from whatever city that we didn't go to, you don't want to listen to the same episode 6 times in a row, even though we moved 6 cities. So you'd have to make new content, new jokes, new stories for every single night. And it's a lot. It's a lot. That's why comedians have like their set and they repeat that set, and they refine that set. And it's kind of weird that we're like in that space now, right? We're such like amateurs. Randall was making some hilarious jokes last night about like, oh, you expect these guys that like mostly hunt and fish, but now all of a sudden like you're gonna have them go on a tour and they got to get up on stage and like understand how like stage production works and do all that. And we're just like we're not professional, actors or theater people or speakers or whatever, right? But
so set properly low expectations. If you're going to the shows, low expectations, please.
No, like I said, man, everybody's been having a great time. We've been getting lots of laughs. And as the week goes on, we're refining the shows, refining the sequences and the stories and the jokes, and dropping some things. But no, it's been good. Everybody's been having a great time. been giving out a bunch of killer prizes and just, a bunch of swag to everybody, and everybody's, having a great time. So,
Awesome.
Is there not one, unless you really have to go, we got a few minutes. We didn't even make it an hour.
Oh, yeah, we can keep talking if you want.
Well,
I
it's
just
fun
want
to
to be.
as
I just want
much
to
as
give you time to rest.
You forced me to reflect on 2025, but it's so much more fun to talk about what we're going to do in 2026, right?
True.
So what's
Do
the
you
big
have-
adventure? What's the big adventure
For
in
me,
2026? Yeah.
I've got a bunch of them, Yanni. I've got some wild ones coming.
Oh
So
yeah, you're trying to move out
through-
west. That's a pretty big adventure.
Well, that's a possibility. Yep, that's a big one. Another one is I'm working on this. I don't know what we're calling them, but a film or an episode or something that is exploring the reality and all the controversy around wolves in America. And so I'm going to go, and I spent about part of a week in October searching for wolves, learning about wolves, spending time out there around them, found some, watched some from afar. We're going back in January for a full week in the winter, camped out in the backcountry with wolves, trying to follow them and observe everything they do for a week. So that's going to be a pretty cool adventure. Then sometime in the spring, I am doing a excursion following buffalo in an undisclosed location, and it looks like a buffalo hunt as well. So studying what buffalo do in the wild, how they impact the ecosystem, how they used to, what they're doing, where they've come back, and then getting to do a buffalo hunt. That's seemingly pretty close to for sure happening. We're working on a Arctic caribou trip of sorts. There's one possibility that might be a hunt in the fall. There's another excursion for another show I'm working on that might be seeking out and following one of these caribou herds during their calving event and observing what that's like and documenting, when 200,000 caribou all of a sudden give birth all in one place, and the predators swarming in to try to take advantage of that and the whole ripple effect of all that. So trying to find and document that. That's something that might be happening in June-ish. So those are a couple. There's a few others that are on the table. I told you about my pronghorn idea, right? Have we talked about the pronghorn trip?
I don't think so.
So another one of these trips that we're hopefully will be approved for another project will be following a pronghorn migration on foot for more than 100 miles and following them and backpacking along the way and documenting everything they have to go through to get from their summer range to their winter range and all the challenges along the way, and kind of explore wildlife migrations and what's going on with that these days. So 100-mile-ish backpacking trip across some wild places would be a pretty cool adventure in October next year. So yeah, those are some that are up there. So
What
lot to be excited
about the boys? What's like the big hunt with the boys?
So the big stuff with the boys would be the standards. They're not the point where I can go on like a out-of-state adventure thing with them, for a hunt. So we're gonna do spring turkey hunt again, which the kids love. We do a lot of fake turkey hunts. So before the season, we just go out and try to call birds in just for experience, and the kids love hearing turkeys gobble and just love being in the woods. And then once the season begins, then they're coming along for a bunch of hunts. And Everett now, like I said, he got his first bird last spring, so he has a tag and he'll be going after one again. And then I'll have my dad out and he'll have a tag, and then I'll have one too. So we'll do that. And then just come, fall, just hopefully have a lot of whitetail season dedicated to just being out there with them. Some of my best spots have gone down in quality in the last couple of years. There's been a ton of increased hunting pressure around some of my core places. The age class has just been crushed. And so that's a bummer in a lot of ways. But the upside is that because there's no mature bucks to hunt, I don't feel the pressure to treat them with white white satin gloves or whatever the saying is. So I don't feel so guilty about like taking the kids out and shooting a bunch of does or, shooting, whatever, because there's not some big old buck that I'm worried about messing up. So that's been,
well, then you won't feel so bad when you take them out squirrel hunting, because they're not going to mess up the home range or kick out your big bucks, which you need to be doing, Mark.
You're right. I need to do that. I know my boys would love it. They call it squirreling. So like, hey, can we go squirreling? So like up at our deer camp, they'll just walk around with a BB gun. Like, we're gonna go squirreling. We're going squirreling. So those kind of roam, search something out. But I have not done what you're telling me to do, which is explicitly have a planned quality squirrel hunt. So I'll put that on the itinerary. They do a ton in the summer, well, not squirrel hunting, but I just jumped in my mind back to like the adventure thing with the kids. As our summer ends up being like a really good adventure time with the kids. So we do want to kind of expand what we've done on those like backcountry trips. We've every year done a little bit more. So this past year, like I said, we did a 4-day for the first time, and they claim they're ready for a full week. So we might try to do that. Yeah. So,
we missed out on We missed out on backpacking this year because of the other trips, which is fine. But it's definitely on the docket again for this summer. They're still both in the space of like, they're sort of like, when we start, and planning up to it. But as soon as we're, down the trail a couple miles or in camp the first night, everybody's pretty pumped to be there,
Yeah. Maybe I can convince you and your family to take a couple 6 and 8 year olds with you guys and us, the whole crew. We should do a shared backpacking trip one of these days.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun. Oh, my girls, your boys are young enough where they sort of like, I think they have that like almost like a motherly or babysitter sort of like attitude towards your boys. Yeah. If they were any older and more pure like, they wouldn't be interested, But no, that would be fun.
They thoroughly have enjoyed their past visits, so maybe we can do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else in your 26 schedule?
Man, I don't have any great adventures planned. I've been trying to draw an archery elk tag in Wyoming for, I think this will be the 3rd year. And I guess point creep keeps getting me. But I feel like I just, judging by the numbers, I really should have it this year. And there's actually some running races in these same mountains. And so I think I think I'll know early enough that if I draw the tag, and I could also sign up to run like a big race in the same mountain range and maybe somehow work that into the story. Could be pretty fun. Do a little scouting while I'm doing a big race. That's
really cool.
But that's about the only like really big hunt. I've got like a 2 to 3 year plan going. I would like to do a dream of mine would be to go on a Alaskan sheep hunt or a Canadian sheep hunt for Dall. And I think that to make it something just more valuable to me, like I want to go and hunt with someone that's just got an immense amount of knowledge about the sheep, right? And that has a lot of time on the mountain, and they can speak to why those animals just really just captivate people so much. And I think I found the guy, and I'm hoping that he's gonna. He's older, as you'd imagine, because that's who you want to talk to, an old guy that's got a lot of years in practice. But as sometimes happens, you can catch people at the tail end and it can be too late, right? Like they're like, no, man, I'm retired. Like I can't do it anymore. But I think this guy's got it in him to both do that. So I'm not even going to mention his name, but I'm working on a 2 to 3 year plan and really would like to do just like a solid bio piece, through the lens of a sheep hunt, but to really do a bio piece on this person, but also on like what makes this person, really want to dedicate their life to be being a sheep hunting guide. And so if I can get those like ducks in a row and make that happen in a couple 3 years, it'd be pretty sweet.
That sounds cool.
Make for some good
I'll
content.
be looking forward to that one. Yeah, great story. Great adventure. All right, Yanni, I'm really gonna let you go this time. Good luck tonight with the show. Have fun.
Thanks for having me on.
If I don't talk before Christmas officially, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. Tell the boys and Kylie I said hello. And we'll do it again.
Right back at you. All right, and that's going to do it today. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Have a wonderful kickoff to your new year, which will be starting here any day now. And as I mentioned at the top and during me and Janis's chat, I'd encourage you to do a little bit of this yourself. Do some reflecting, do some reminiscing, try to appreciate the good times, learn from the tough times, and let's all move forward in 2026 with big dreams, high hopes, and lots of good stuff on the to-do list. So until then, thank you, and stay wired to hunt.